Even before the House versus NCAA settlement was approved by a judge, at some universities behind closed doors, there may have been administrators and coaches wondering how to take advantage of the new college sports landscape. The old NASCAR saying, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, could certainly apply. Not just because the rules are new and haven't yet been tested, but because the same problems in college athletics have merely shifted from one area to another. The House settlement sets up direct payments from schools to athletes for the first time. Each school participating will have a $20.5 million cap each year to spend on their athletic programs. Football and basketball will see the vast majority of that $20.5 million, but NIL payments will still exist on top of the direct payments. Pitt Athletic Director Alan Green said this is just a first step.
I think student-athlete employment is still a topic of conversation. It's going to occur. I think rule setting is going to occur still, like in just how we are applying all the various rules in our industry that govern what we do. And I think there's still going to be conversations around congressional engagement, congressional involvement.
Many schools are still counting on wealthy alumni to help out because athletic budgets are already stretched thin. Adding another $20.5 million expense will have schools making hard choices. Iowa State Athletic Director Jamie Pollard was blunt in a recent interview.
Iowa State does not have that $20 million. But if we don't pay it for this coming year, we've got big problems. Right? So we're going to pay it.
It's bigger than college athletics. College towns like Ames, Iowa, depend on athletic programs and the tourism dollars they generate.
Iowa State University will be faced with an athletics program with a huge annual deficit if it wants to stay in the Big 12 and if it wants to have a P4 athletics program. Now, we can decide we just want to have an athletics program like Northern Iowa, but that's going to have a huge economic impact on the state, on Central Iowa, on the city of Ames, and on this institution.
And those issues don't account for NIL payments, which will still be available to athletes. Hours after the settlement was approved, a new college sports commission was set up. Brian Seeley is the man in charge. The former MLB executive and his team will review each NIL transaction over $600 to make sure it's for a legitimate business purpose and not just pay for play. There will be a lot of gray areas to sift through because up until this point, there were no rules for why a business or a collective could pay a player. There's nothing stopping a Penn State or an Ohio State or an Alabama from using the majority of their $20.5 million on their football program, in addition to another $20 or $30 million in NIL payments. That could create an arms race this whole settlement was supposed to curb. The gap between the haves and have-nots may grow unless more guardrails are put in place.
You watch Ohio State in the men's football game, national championship game, you don't hear any announcers talking about NIL. They just don't talk about it. And yet, you know, Ohio State had one of the highest 2 or 3 NIL payrolls last year in college football.
Texas Tech softball coach Jerry Glasgow, whose school collective announced a second $1 million payment to star pitcher Najee Kennedy a day before they lost in the championship of the Women's College World Series, knows his non-revenue program will have to continue to raise money outside of the $20.5 million. Paying a player like Kennedy through the NIL is worth it if they want to remain relevant.
And I think it was 3 days after she signed, they said there was somebody told me there was over 700,000 Associated Press type articles where they said Stanford, Texas Tech, and Najee Kennedy and softball all in one little, 700,000 times you got mentioned. And then you look at the exposure she brought to us, and I think we now played 10 or 11 games on national TV.
Whether non-revenue sports are left behind in this new college landscape is one of the many questions left unanswered in the aftermath of the settlement. It'll depend on how each school divides the $20.5 million in payments. Schools without football, like Gonzaga and many others in the Big East Conference, will be flush with cash to spend on their basketball teams, in addition to those non-revenue sports. That opens up another door to a gap between the haves and have-nots. The catch is not having a football team makes it a bit harder to find that $20.5 million in a school budget. Did the House settlement create more questions than answers? Perhaps, but it was a necessary step to allow athletes to be paid. What comes next will largely depend on what rules are put in place and how they're enforced. For Straight Arrow News, I'm Chris Francis.